Chosen one, there are moments in life that feel ordinary on the surface, but in the spiritual realm, they are anything but ordinary. If you are hearing this message right now, it is not random, it is not coincidence, it is not simply another video scrolling past your screen. Something deeper is happening. Because the truth is this: chosen ones carry a power most people never recognize. Not power in the way the world defines it, not control over others, not fame, not influence built on ego. The power given to a chosen one is far greater than that. It is the power to shift destinies, the power to break cycles, the power to change everything. But here is the part many chosen ones struggle to understand. This power does not arrive when life is comfortable. It awakens when life becomes confusing, when doors start closing, when people start leaving, when situations begin pushing you into places you never expected. That is when the awakening begins. Throughout the Bible, God never chose people who already felt powerful. Think about Moses. He believed he was unqualified. Think about David, the overlooked shepherd boy. Think about Esther, an orphan who never imagined she would save a nation. Each of them reached a moment where their lives seemed uncertain, even impossible. And yet that was the exact moment God began revealing their purpose. Chosen ones often misinterpret these moments. They think something is going wrong, but heaven sees something very different. Something is shifting. You may feel isolated right now. You may feel misunderstood. You may feel like your life has been moving in strange directions. But there is a reason for that. God separates the chosen before he elevates them, because the power you carry cannot develop in environments that keep you small. And that is why some relationships faded. That is why some opportunities disappeared. That is why certain paths closed suddenly. It was not rejection, it was redirection. The chosen ones are not here just to survive life. They are here to transform it, to speak truth where there is confusion, to bring light where there is darkness, to stand firm when others compromise. And sometimes that assignment feels overwhelming, but listen carefully. God never gives a mission without giving the power needed to fulfill it. Even when you cannot see it yet, even when you doubt yourself, even when the world treats you like you are ordinary, because heaven already knows something the world has not discovered yet. You were chosen for impact. Right now, take a moment and let this truth settle in your spirit. If this message is already speaking to your journey, write "I am chosen" in the comments. Your declaration may encourage someone else who is also waking up to their purpose. And if this message resonates deeply with you, consider supporting the channel through Super Thanks. It helps us continue creating messages that reach and awaken more chosen ones around the world. Now here is something important most people never realize. The moment a chosen one begins recognizing their spiritual authority, everything around them begins to shift. Old patterns begin breaking, hidden truths begin revealing themselves, and doors that once seemed impossible begin opening in ways no one expected. But before that transformation fully unfolds, every chosen one must first face one critical realization. You are not powerless in your story. You are the turning point of it. One of the most confusing parts of being a chosen one is the journey itself. From the outside, people often assume that someone chosen by God must have an easier path, a smoother life, fewer obstacles. But the truth revealed throughout Scripture shows the exact opposite. Chosen ones often walk through more resistance, more tests, and more unexpected trials than most people around them. And there is a reason for that. God does not prepare chosen ones through comfort. He prepares them through transformation. Think about the journey of Joseph. Before he ever reached the palace, he was betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit and sold into slavery. Years passed before the purpose behind those painful moments became clear. Imagine how confusing that must have been for him. He had dreams from God. He believed he was destined for something meaningful. Yet everything happening in his life looked like the complete opposite of those promises. Chosen ones experience this same kind of tension. You feel something inside you telling you that your life has a deeper purpose, But your circumstances seem to challenge that belief. People misunderstand you, situations delay you, opportunities disappear right when they seem close. And sometimes you even ask yourself quietly, why is this happening to me? But what if those struggles were never meant to destroy you? What if they were actually training you? The truth is, chosen ones are often placed in difficult situations because those experiences develop something powerful within them. They develop wisdom. They develop discernment. They develop spiritual strength that cannot be learned through easy living. Look at Job. His story is one of the clearest examples of how intense trials can become the stage where God reveals a greater purpose. Job lost nearly everything that once defined his stability. Yet through his faith and perseverance, he emerged with deeper understanding and restoration beyond what he had before. Chosen ones are not just being shaped for personal success. They are being shaped for impact on others. One day, someone will come to you with the exact struggle you once faced. And because you walked through it, you will have the wisdom to guide them through it. Your pain becomes someone else's breakthrough. Your survival becomes someone else's hope. This is why the enemy often tries to attack chosen ones early in life. Because if you discover your spiritual authority too soon, the cycles of darkness around you would begin breaking immediately. But here is the powerful truth many chosen ones eventually discover. The very things meant to discourage you actually built the strength you now carry. Those lonely seasons taught you how to rely on God instead of people. Those disappointments sharpened your discernment. Those setbacks forced you to grow in ways comfort never could. Every trial was quietly shaping the person you are becoming. And when the moment comes for your purpose to fully unfold, you will realize something extraordinary. Nothing you experienced was wasted. Not a single lesson. Not a single tear. Not a single moment of uncertainty. God was preparing you to carry a power that can change environments, shift destinies, and awaken others. But there is another truth chosen ones must understand, and it explains why certain people seem strangely uncomfortable around you. One of the most mysterious experiences many chosen ones face is this. You walk into a room, and without saying much, the atmosphere shifts. Some people feel drawn to you immediately. They feel peace around you. They open up about their struggles without even understanding why. But others react very differently. They become uneasy. They grow distant. Sometimes they even become hostile without a clear reason. If you have experienced this, you are not imagining it. This is something many chosen ones encounter once their spiritual awareness begins to awaken. Because the truth is, a chosen one carries a spiritual presence that reveals things hidden beneath the surface. Light has always had this effect. When light enters a dark place, it does not argue with the darkness. It simply exposes it. This is why throughout Scripture, people who carried God's calling often faced strong reactions from others. Look at Jesus Christ. His presence brought healing, wisdom, and truth. Many people were drawn to him because they felt hope for the first time, but others felt deeply threatened, not because he harmed anyone, not because he acted with cruelty, but because truth has a way of revealing what people try to hide. Chosen ones carry a similar spiritual sensitivity. You may notice that you often sense things others miss. You can feel when someone is being genuine. You can sense when something feels spiritually off. You sometimes recognize hidden intentions long before others do. This is not judgment, it is discernment. And discernment is one of the most powerful gifts given to those who are chosen. But with this gift comes a challenge. Not everyone will feel comfortable around someone who sees beyond appearances. Some people prefer environments where truth stays hidden. They prefer spaces where masks remain in place and no one questions deeper motives. But the presence of a chosen one quietly disrupts that. Even without speaking, your energy invites authenticity. And those who are unwilling to live honestly may feel exposed simply by being around you. This is why chosen ones sometimes notice a pattern. People who carry sincerity and good intentions feel safe around you. But those who carry manipulation, jealousy, or hidden motives often become distant. Sometimes they criticize you. Sometimes they try to undermine you. Sometimes they simply disappear from your life. At first, this can feel painful. You may wonder why certain relationships could not last. But later, you begin to understand something important. God was protecting your path. Because not everyone who enters your life is meant to walk beside you as your purpose unfolds. Look at the story of Samuel. From a young age, he carried a spiritual sensitivity that allowed him to hear God's voice when others could not. That gift eventually positioned him to guide kings and shape the direction of an entire nation. Chosen ones often walk through a similar process. Their awareness develops quietly over time. What once felt confusing begins making sense. You begin realizing that your role is not to fit into every environment. Your role is to transform the environments God places you in. And this is where your true power begins revealing itself. Because when a chosen one fully embraces their spiritual identity, something remarkable begins to happen. Their words carry weight. Their prayers begin shifting circumstances. Their presence begins encouraging others to awaken as well. But before that level of influence fully unfolds, every chosen one must overcome one major internal battle, the battle with self-doubt. One of the greatest obstacles chosen ones face is not an enemy on the outside. It is a quiet battle that happens inside the mind. Self-doubt. It often begins subtly. A thought appears that questions your ability, your worth, or even your calling. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I'm not as capable as others. Maybe I'm not meant for something greater. These thoughts can feel convincing, especially after you have experienced rejection, failure, or long seasons where nothing seems to move forward. But here is a truth many chosen ones must learn to recognize. Self-doubt is one of the most strategic distractions placed in the path of someone who carries purpose. Because the moment a chosen one fully believes in the calling God placed on their life, their influence begins expanding in ways that can change everything around them. Look at the story of Moses. When God called him to confront Pharaoh and lead the Israelites to freedom, Moses did not respond with confidence. Instead, he hesitated. He questioned his ability to speak clearly. He doubted whether people would listen to him. He wondered why God would choose someone like him for such an enormous responsibility. In other words, Moses reacted the same way many chosen ones still react today. He focused on what he believed were his weaknesses. But God was never concerned about those weaknesses. Because divine purpose has never been about human perfection. It has always been about divine empowerment. God does not call people because they are already perfect. He calls them because he knows who they can become when they trust him. Chosen ones often overlook this. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until they feel confident. They wait until they feel qualified. But throughout history, God has consistently chosen people who felt unprepared. Look at Jeremiah. When he first received his calling, his immediate response was fear. He believed he was too young and too inexperienced. Yet God responded with powerful reassurance. Do not say, I am too young. You must go to everyone I send you to. This moment reveals something important. God does not measure readiness the way humans do. Humans look at credentials. God looks at the heart. Chosen ones carry something far more valuable than perfect preparation. They carry a willing spirit. But the enemy understands how powerful that willingness can become. So he plants doubt. Doubt that whispers you are not capable. Doubt that convinces you your voice does not matter. Doubt that encourages you to stay silent when you should be stepping forward. If that doubt can keep you questioning yourself long enough, it delays the impact your life was meant to have. But something begins shifting when a chosen one recognizes this pattern. You start noticing that your doubts often appear right before important moments, right before opportunities, right before breakthroughs, right before stepping into something new. And once you see that pattern clearly, the doubt loses much of its power. Because you begin understanding that your hesitation is not proof you are unqualified. It is often proof that you are standing near a turning point. Chosen ones who overcome self-doubt discover something remarkable. Their confidence does not come from ego. It comes from faith. Faith that God already placed the ability inside them. Faith that the same God who called them will also guide them. And when that confidence begins growing, the power you carry starts revealing itself more clearly. Your words become more courageous. Your decisions become more aligned with purpose. Your life begins moving in a direction that once seemed impossible. But there is another step in this journey that every chosen one must eventually face. Because once self-doubt begins fading, something else often begins happening around you. Suddenly opposition increases. There is a moment in the journey of every chosen one when something begins to change. For a long time, life may have felt confusing. You questioned your path. You wondered why certain struggles kept appearing. You tried to understand why you felt different from those around you. But then something begins to shift. Your awareness grows. Your faith deepens. You begin seeing patterns that once went unnoticed. And slowly you start stepping into the power God placed within you. But right when that happens, many chosen ones notice something surprising. Resistance increases. Suddenly challenges appear that were not there before. People who once supported you begin questioning you. Unexpected obstacles show up just when things start moving forward. At first, this can feel discouraging. You may wonder if you are doing something wrong. But the truth is often the opposite. Resistance often increases because you are moving in the right direction. Throughout Scripture, whenever someone stepped into their calling, opposition followed closely behind. Look at David. Before he became king, he was simply a young shepherd with a heart devoted to God. But the moment he defeated Goliath and his influence began rising, resistance appeared from an unexpected place. King Saul became threatened by him. David had done nothing wrong. He had served faithfully and acted with courage. Yet Saul's jealousy forced David into years of hardship and exile. Why? Because when someone begins walking in their divine purpose, it exposes insecurity in those who are not aligned with truth. Chosen ones often encounter similar reactions. The more you grow spiritually, the more your clarity begins revealing things others would rather ignore. Your courage may challenge people who have grown comfortable with compromise. Your faith may make others question their own beliefs. Your presence may remind people of truths they have been avoiding. And sometimes, that makes them uncomfortable. But there is another spiritual layer to this resistance. Whenever a chosen one moves closer to fulfilling their purpose, spiritual opposition often attempts to create distractions, delays, confusion, discouragement. The goal is simple. If you can be distracted long enough, you may stop moving forward. But here is something important many chosen ones eventually realize. Resistance often appears right before breakthrough. Look at the experience of Daniel. Daniel's faithfulness and wisdom placed him in a position of influence. Yet his integrity made certain officials jealous. They plotted against him and manipulated the king into creating a law that targeted Daniel's devotion to God. This plan led Daniel directly into the lion's den. From a human perspective, it looked like defeat. But what happened next revealed something powerful. God protected Daniel in a way that astonished an entire kingdom. The very trap designed to destroy him became the stage where God displayed his power. Chosen ones must understand this principle. Opposition does not always mean you are losing. Sometimes it means your impact is becoming visible. The enemy rarely wastes energy attacking someone who is standing still, but someone who is waking up to their purpose. Someone who is beginning to walk in faith. Someone who is preparing to influence others for good. That person becomes a threat to darkness. And that is why resistance appears. But here is the truth that gives chosen ones strength. No amount of opposition can cancel what God has already planned. It may delay you. It may challenge you. It may force you to grow stronger. But it cannot erase your calling. In fact, many chosen ones discover that the very battles meant to stop them actually prepare them for greater authority. Because every victory builds confidence. Every test strengthens faith. Every challenge reveals the power God placed inside you. And as you continue moving forward, something even more extraordinary begins to happen. You start realizing that your influence was never meant to stay small. There comes a stage in the life of every chosen one when the focus of the journey begins to shift. At first, the process feels deeply personal. You are trying to understand your purpose. You are learning to trust God through difficult seasons. You are discovering your own strength through trials that once felt overwhelming. But something remarkable happens as you continue growing spiritually. Your journey stops being just about you. Without even realizing it, your life begins awakening others. This is one of the hidden purposes behind the path of a chosen one. God never prepares someone only for their own success. He prepares them so their transformation can become a light for others. Think about the influence of Paul the Apostle. Before his transformation, Paul lived with strong conviction, but in the wrong direction. Yet when his life changed and he began following Christ, that transformation did not stay private. His testimony spread across cities and nations. People who had once lived in confusion began discovering faith because of the courage and clarity he carried. Chosen ones often carry this same type of influence. It may begin in small ways. Someone notices your peace during a difficult situation. Someone hears the wisdom in the way you speak about challenges. Someone observes the strength you carry even after everything you have been through. And slowly they begin asking questions. How did you get through that? How do you stay strong when things fall apart? Why do you still believe when life has been so difficult? Those questions are not accidents. They are moments where your story becomes a doorway for someone else's awakening. Many chosen ones underestimate how powerful their testimony can be. You may look at your life and only remember the struggles. You remember the nights when you felt alone. You remember the confusion, the setbacks, and the moments when you wondered if things would ever change. But someone else sees something very different. They see survival. They see resilience. They see faith that remained even when circumstances tried to break it. That is why God allows chosen ones to walk through intense seasons, not to harm them, but to create a testimony strong enough to lift others out of darkness. Look at Peter the Apostle. Peter experienced moments of great courage, but he also faced moments of failure. One of the most well-known examples was when he denied Jesus during a moment of fear. Yet that failure did not define the end of Peter's story. After experiencing restoration and renewed faith, Peter became one of the most powerful voices in the early church. His journey showed others something important. God can use imperfect people to accomplish extraordinary things. Chosen ones carry that same message today. You do not have to appear flawless to inspire others. In fact, your honesty about the struggles you have faced may become the exact reason someone else finds hope again. Because when people see that God helped you overcome obstacles they recognize in their own lives, something begins stirring within them. They start believing that change might be possible for them too. And that is when the real influence of a chosen one begins unfolding. Your life becomes more than a personal story. It becomes a beacon that helps others find their way back to purpose. But there is one final realization chosen ones must embrace before their impact reaches its full potential. Because the power you carry was never meant to stay hidden. There comes a defining moment in the journey of every chosen one. For a long time, your path may have been quiet. You were learning, growing, healing, and slowly understanding the purpose behind everything you experienced. But eventually, a moment arrives when staying hidden is no longer part of the plan. God begins calling you to step forward. This step does not always mean standing in front of large crowds or gaining public recognition. For many chosen ones, stepping forward simply means embracing the role God designed for them without fear or hesitation. It means speaking truth when others remain silent. It means guiding others who feel lost. It means living with courage even when the path ahead is unfamiliar. But here is where many chosen ones hesitate. They feel the calling, but they also feel the weight of responsibility. Questions begin appearing again. What if I fail? What if people misunderstand me? What if I'm not ready? Yet throughout Scripture the pattern is clear. God does not wait until someone feels completely comfortable before calling them into action. Look at Joshua. Joshua had spent years learning beside Moses. He had witnessed miracles, battles, and moments where God guided an entire nation. But when Moses passed away, Joshua suddenly found himself standing at the edge of a new chapter. He was now responsible for leading the people of Israel into the promised land. Imagine the pressure he must have felt. He was stepping into a role previously held by one of the most powerful leaders in biblical history. The weight of that responsibility could have easily caused him to hesitate. Yet God gave Joshua a message that echoes through time for every chosen one who feels uncertain. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. This instruction was not simply encouragement. It was a reminder that divine purpose always comes with divine support. Chosen ones are never asked to carry their mission alone, but they must still choose courage. And courage does not mean the absence of fear. Courage means moving forward despite fear. Many chosen ones spend years preparing without realizing it. Every challenge you faced strengthened your resilience. Every disappointment sharpened your wisdom. Every lonely season deepened your connection with God. All of those experiences were quietly shaping you for the moment when your voice, your presence, and your influence would begin making a difference. This is why chosen ones often reach a point where something inside them refuses to stay silent any longer. You feel compelled to encourage others. You feel drawn to speak truth. You feel a responsibility to share what you have learned through your own journey. That feeling is not random. It is the signal that your preparation season is transforming into your action season. And when chosen ones finally accept this moment, something powerful begins happening. Their confidence grows. Their clarity sharpens. Their life starts aligning with the purpose God intended from the beginning. You stop chasing approval. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You begin living with the quiet certainty that your life carries meaning beyond what the world can see. But stepping forward also reveals one final truth about the power chosen ones carry, because the greatest transformation does not happen when you simply recognize your purpose. It happens when you realize how much your obedience can change the lives of others. As you look back over your journey, something important begins to become clear. The struggles you faced were not random. The seasons of isolation were not meaningless. The moments of doubt, the resistance, the unexpected turns in your life, all of it was shaping something far greater than you originally understood. You were being prepared to carry a kind of power that many people search for their entire lives but never fully recognize. But here is the truth that defines the mission of every chosen one. Your power was never meant to control people. It was meant to change lives. The power given to chosen ones is spiritual influence. It is the ability to bring light, wisdom, and courage into places where people feel lost or hopeless. And when someone truly embraces that calling, their presence begins transforming the world around them. Think about the life of Jesus Christ. His power did not come from wealth or political authority. He did not command armies or build earthly kingdoms. Yet his words changed hearts. His compassion restored broken lives. His courage challenged systems built on fear and injustice. Even today, centuries later, the impact of his message continues guiding millions of people toward faith, hope, and purpose. This reveals something powerful. True spiritual authority does not rely on external status. It flows from alignment with God's purpose. Chosen ones carry this same potential in their own way. Your voice may encourage someone who is on the edge of giving up. Your faith may remind someone that God has not forgotten them. Your example may inspire someone to begin believing that their life also carries meaning. These moments may seem small in the beginning, but transformation rarely begins with large crowds. It begins with one life influencing another. Look at the faithfulness of Ruth. Her loyalty, humility, and courage did not seem like actions that would shape history. Yet her faithfulness placed her in the lineage that eventually led to the birth of Jesus. One decision, one act of faith. That is how powerful the life of a chosen person can become. Chosen ones do not always realize how far their influence will travel. Sometimes the encouragement you give today will echo in someone's life for years. Sometimes the wisdom you share will guide someone through a moment they once believed they could never survive. And sometimes your courage will awaken another chosen one who was still searching for their own purpose. This is how God multiplies impact. One awakened life begins awakening others. And suddenly, a chain of transformation begins spreading far beyond what anyone expected. But this process always begins with a simple decision. The decision to accept who you are, not who the world told you to be, not who fear tried to convince you that you were, but who God designed you to become. A chosen one who carries the power to bring change. A person whose story proves that faith can overcome adversity. A voice that reminds others they are not alone in their struggles. So if you have ever wondered why your journey has been different, why your path has been challenging, why you have felt called towards something deeper, now you understand. It was never meant to be ordinary. Because the truth is this: chosen ones are not placed in the world simply to exist. They are placed here to shift atmospheres, break cycles, inspire faith, and remind others that God's purpose is still unfolding. And once you fully embrace that calling, you begin walking in the power that was inside you all along. The power to change everything,